When Adam's turn comes, he speaks clearly and makes eye contact with everyone around the circle. I'm impressed. He must have a lot of confidence. I'm so engrossed in what people are saying that I don't realize it's almost my turn to speak until Helen stands up next to me. She clears her throat and then recites a poem from Shakespeare. At least I'm assuming it's from Shakespeare, since we don't start reading him until 9th grade. After the poem, she wipes a small tear from the corner of her eye and says, "I've been reading poetry since I was a young girl. I choose the poems with the prettiest colored words. Then it's like a beautiful garden of colors appears before my very eyes." My turn has arrived. I babble for a few minutes about my colors, wishing I could tell them about seeing the pheromones. But I don't dare tell them with my parents in the room. People are nodding as I speak, and it's so cool to be in a whole room full of people who understand me. Adam gives me a thumbs up when I'm done. The last person to speak is a man who looks about my father's age but is much heavier. He explains that color rules his life. He picks his friends based on whether he likes or dislikes the colors of their names. He even chooses his food that way. "Unfortunately," he says, pointing to his large belly, "my favorite color is the pale green of the word chocolate." He adds that he has to turn off his car radio in order to concentrate in traffic. Half of the room nods in agreement. I'll have to remember that when I take my driving test in 3 years. People start yelling things out now. The oldest man in the room, he looks like he's around 70, says he married his first wife because her name tasted like peanut butter. Then he met this other woman whose name tasted like peaches, his favorite food. So he divorced the first one and married the second. One woman brags that she can read and write upside down and backward, and that when she writes with her right hand, her left hand can follow along and write the same sentence backward. 3 other women call out that they can do that too. I hadn't thought about it in years, but I used to do that when I was little. It never crossed my mind that it might be connected to my colors. I guess whatever wires are mixed up in my brain are responsible for all sorts of strange things. Jerry waits until the room quiets down and asks, "Does anyone want to share their word pictures? Let's raise our hands this time." 3 hands shoot up, but then they all start talking at once. I guess I'm about to find out what a word picture is. "The name Jerry is like a big sugar cube with chopsticks sticking out of it." "No, it's not. It's like a bicycle pump with a red handle." "No way. It's a big pillow with the stuffing being squeezed out." The rest of us look at one another and shrug. I imagine their heads must get pretty crowded if every word has a picture with it. Since we have an early day tomorrow, Jerry tells us to mingle for a little while and then call it a night. The rest of the weekend will be taken up with experiments. I feel like I'm part of an elite club and can't wait for tomorrow. It hardly seems possible that I had once wanted my synesthesia to go away. Adam motions me over to the fireplace, where he holds out his hand. "We haven't been formally introduced," he says in a pretend grown-up voice. I reach out to shake his hand. He grabs it and kisses the back of it. He actually kisses my hand. Fortunately, my parents have wandered out of the room, or else I'd be mortified. "Charmed, Miss Winchell," he says, lightly dropping my hand. "Adam Dixon at your service." He tugs at the collar of his thick sweater. "It's a little hot in here, isn't it? The rain has stopped. Maybe we should go outside for some air." It has gotten a little stuffy in the room. Of course, it could be because we're standing in front of the fire. Before I can say anything, Adam takes my hand and leads me out a back door into a little courtyard. I'm so energized that I barely feel the cold. We sit down on a bench that had been partially sheltered from the rain. I've never been in the dark with a boy before. Well, other than Zach, of course. My palms are sweating, and I wipe them on my dress. "So, this is pretty great, right?" Adam says. I'm not sure if he means the meeting or us sitting on the bench together. "Uh-huh," I say, figuring it's a safe answer. "Where did this come from?" he asks, lightly touching my friendship bracelet. His fingers graze my arm, and I shiver a little as I tell him about the bracelet. "Are you cold?" he asks, moving a little closer. "We should have grabbed a bottle of wine from inside. They never would have noticed. That would warm you right up." "Really, I'm fine," I tell him. "Didn't you get really sick the last time you drank?" "Oh, that. I was just a kid then." Before I can ask what he thinks he is now, he says, "You look just like I thought you would. Am I like you pictured?" "I don't know. I didn't really—" "Mia?" he interrupts. "Yes?" "Can I kiss you?" "What?" I ask a little too loudly. "Never mind," he says, looking across the yard. "No, I mean, it's okay. I mean, yes, you can." I stop rambling, and he smiles at me. If my palms weren't already sweating, they would be right now. It was about time I had my first kiss. It seems fitting that it should be with another synesthete, since we understand each other so well. I close my eyes and feel his lips touch mine. Our noses bump, and I giggle. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" he asks, smiling. I shake my head, afraid to say anything stupid. He leans in to kiss me again. Suddenly, I hear footsteps behind us. "Mia!" I cringe and pull away from Adam. My mother doesn't look happy to see me kissing a strange boy on a bench in the dark. I hurry to introduce Adam, explaining that we knew each other already. "That's great," she snaps, and practically drags me away by my sleeve. All I can do is wave goodbye. "See you tomorrow, Mia," he calls out after us. "Nice meeting you, Mrs. Winchell." My mother grunts in reply and hands me my coat. I wonder if she's this hard on Beth's boyfriends. Not that Adam is my boyfriend or anything. I don't even know if I want him to be. I think about whether or not I'd want him as a boyfriend the whole ride home. I'm still thinking about it as I pick through the Thanksgiving leftovers. Not surprisingly, there's a lot of the tofu loaf left. It actually tastes better the day after. Maybe it tastes better because everything tastes better when you're wearing old flannel pajamas at midnight. It suddenly dawns on me that I have to get up again in 6 hours in order to get to the university by 9 o'clock. I quickly rewrap what's left of the tofu loaf and toss my fork into the sink. On the way out of the kitchen, I pass Mango's food dish and see that it's still mostly full from this morning. I bet he's still stuffed from all the Thanksgiving table scraps Zach fed him when our parents weren't looking. There's a thin orange glow in front of the food dish, the last trace of my magic powers. I think it's very interesting that everyone else's glow is almost completely gone, but I can still see Mango's. My thick socks are perfect for skating in the smooth hallway, and I have to grab onto the staircase to avoid crashing into the front door. As I come to a stop, the full moon shining through the living room window beckons to me. Even though it's freezing outside, I feel like sitting out on the front porch. Grabbing my coat from the front closet, I quietly open the front door and slip outside. The top step seems dry enough, so I sit down and watch the clouds pass quickly in front of the moon. It seems impossible to believe I was just in a room with 14 other people just like me. I can't wait to tell them about the acupuncture, which, as cool as it was, did get to be pretty distracting. But if my abilities had been stronger tonight, I would have been able to see exactly what Adam was feeling when he kissed me. That could have been useful. A light drizzle turns the air to mist, and by the time I get back up to my room, a steady rain is pounding the ground. I climb under the warm comforter without even bothering to brush my teeth. Sometime around 3:30 in the morning, a loud burst of thunder wakes me. I raise my head to look for Mango, who hates the thunder. Even in the darkness, I can see the orange glow. I reach down to bring him into my arms, but my hands land on an empty blanket. As if on cue, a flash of lightning shows me that Mango is definitely not on the bed. The only thing there is a mango-shaped space. I sit up and try to remember when I saw him last. I must have given him his medicine before I went to bed. But why can't I remember giving it to him? My memory used to be so good, but last night is all a blur. I stare at the Winnie the Pooh blanket, mentally willing Mango to appear. It doesn't work. As I'm concentrating, I notice a faint orange trail leading off the bed and out my door. I decide to follow it. When I get to the front hall, I have to choose between the thick orange trail leading down to the kitchen and the very faint trail leading straight to the front door. My heart pounding, I open the front door to find Mango curled up in a tight little ball on the doormat. He looks so cold. I quickly gather him in my arms, and he sluggishly opens one eye, then lets it close again. Holding him tight against my chest, I push the door closed with my hip and hurry back to bed. We lie there, under the comforter, as my body heat slowly warms him. I spend the next hour holding and nuzzling him, alternately wondering how I didn't see him slip outside, hating myself for letting him get so cold, and debating whether or not I should give him another pill. Mango might not know any better than to go outside in the freezing cold, but the part of him that's Grandpa should have. Maybe the Grandpa part was asleep at the time. Finally, Mango starts purring, and I let my eyes close. The next time I wake up, it's a few hours later, and the clacking of the furnace almost drowns out the sound of Mango's heavy wheezing. Almost. I try to wake him up, but he won't respond. Then, he starts twitching his arms and legs, but still won't wake up. For the second time that night, I jump out of bed and run into the hall. This time, I run to my parents' room and knock frantically on their door. My mother opens it and immediately looks worried. "What is it, Mia?" I'm wringing my hands, and my heart feels like it's going to burst in my chest. "We have to take Mango to the vet right away. There's something wrong with him. Please hurry." Together, we run back to my room. She takes one look at Mango, who is still twitching, and tells me to wrap him in a blanket and meet her in the car. I slip on my rain boots and briefly wonder whether I should put real clothes on. Another twitch from Mango makes the decision for me. I grab the Pooh blanket, wrap him up in it, and head downstairs. My mother, also in her pajamas and rain boots, is hanging up the phone in the kitchen. "What did the vet say?" I ask, terrified of the answer. "The storm last night flooded the main road," my mother says helplessly. "She can't get to her office, and we can't get to her house." I stare at my mother as I digest this information. "We'll have to take the helicopter," I say, panic building in my chest. "It's not raining anymore, right?" Mango wheezes loudly, and my mother tells me to wait by the door while she runs back upstairs. I wait by the stairs, my ears buzzing with fear as every second seems like an hour. Finally, my father appears, hopping on one foot as he pulls on his thick boots. "Where will we land, Dad?" I ask, my throat tight. "Leave it to me," he says. "Wait here while I warm up the engine." I watch him run across the rain-soaked field and disappear into the cockpit. I remember how Mango's mango-colored wheezes used to be comforting because they meant he was still around. They are anything but comforting now. Mom and Zach join me in the kitchen. Zach gently strokes Mango's head while we wait. Every few seconds, I feel a twitch through the thin blanket, and my stomach flip-flops. Dad flashes the lights on and off, signaling he's ready for me. I race outside, hunched over to keep Mango warm. I climb in and strap myself into the seat. Still holding Mango tight, I lower my head and rest it on his as the propeller speeds up. The helicopter begins to lift and then settles right back down again, the propeller sputtering. I realize I'm holding my breath, and I force myself to breathe. Tears slip out as I exhale. "Hurry, Dad, please!" I'm pleading and crying at the same time. "I'm trying, Mia. Just hold on." He makes some adjustments on the panel, and the propeller slowly winds up again. "Hold on, Mango," I beg as I gently pet him. "You'll be better soon, I promise." Mango meows softly. I feel a second of relief, thinking maybe he understood me and knows we're trying to get help. The helicopter starts to lift again, and it takes my brain a second to realize that something is different. Mango isn't twitching anymore. He isn't wheezing. He isn't breathing. "Dad, stop!" The chopper bumps back down. My fingers shake uncontrollably as I unwrap the blanket and stare down at Mango. He looks like he's asleep, except his chest isn't moving. I shake him, but nothing happens. "Turn him on his back," my father commands. Time has stopped. The only things that exist in the world are me, my father, and Mango. The tears are streaming down my face now and making Mango's fur wet. My father tips Mango's head back and breathes into his mouth and nose. Then he presses lightly against Mango's chest with 2 fingers. My head is swimming, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. After a minute of this, Dad looks up at me, his face ashen, and shakes his head. My eyes open wide, and the pain hits me in thick black waves. Then, I scream loud enough to wake the dead. Only it doesn't.